Hey guys, it's Chris with the Wide Body, and this week the Wide Body is going to do something a little different with our videos. Instead of having a food video like we do, we're still have food, but we're going to add a little bit of a health element. We're going to talk a little bit about what we've been doing all week, which is talking about garlic. So this week, guys, we talked about garlic in our health segment and how garlic can improve your health by fighting off. It's this wonderful little tasty warrior fighting off the flu and common cold. Fantastic studies in there. One of them showed, I think it was a 63% reduction in cold symptoms, and then about a 70% reduction for those who did catch the cold, a 70% reduction in the number of days they felt ill. Fantastic little things just by eating garlic. One of those little cloves a day seems to help keep not only vampires but the cold bug away. So we're going to talk about something a little bit different here, and the fact is, how easy is it to actually grow garlic? It's crazy easy, and it's kind of a fun little project, especially if you got kids around or if you just feel like being crafty, if you will, around the house and doing something a little bit extra for you at the house. So this time around, what we're going to do is I will talk a little bit about what you can do with garlic. It's actually fairly simple to go ahead and grow garlic for you. One thing you can do, it's so simple, go to the store, buy a clove. Now, there's cloves within a clove, so it's more like buy a bulb, if you will, and with the number of cloves in here. Next thing you do, get a plot of land. Not a big plot, maybe if it's just a little spot in your garden. And if you don't have that, you know what'd be even more fantastic? Get a pot, especially if it's cold. Now, it is getting into fall right now here in the central Texas area. We're in growing regions 8A, 8B, 9A. So basically what that means is we don't have, our hardiness levels means that we don't get below 10 degrees Fahrenheit, okay? If we will get into the teens, but we don't get below 10 degrees, so we don't get into the single digits typically in the wintertime. This is also the time within Texas, so for the most part, exception the panhandle and parts of the far west, where the ground is warm enough to where we can put in all alliums. Alliums happen to be your onions and your garlic, so it's a fantastic time. Best thing to do, check with your local agricultural extension wherever you live. Most states have them, and most of them are run by large universities. Check with them first. So I'm going to show you what you need to do to go ahead and get started planting your own garlic and have a little fun, and good for your health, as far as also good for your table. Okay, guys, so here is the Wide Body's own little personal garden. I got several of these. This one's in a part by my house where I just happen to have a spare piece of land with a yard where, frankly, it just was in a random, strange little spot. You didn't see a lot of grass. We had grass, you just never saw it. So I thought, hey, let's change it up and put in a garden. So this time of year is also a great time in Texas to be growing greens. Oh, like my little aloe. Yeah, that little guy turned into a big guy. So he's perfect right there. So I just kept him. But anyway, as you can see, I have quite a bit of greens. So I like to grow lettuce, and I got like 3 different varieties of lettuce and collard greens, chard over there, and I have a whole nother bed that's full of chard also. So what I'm going to go do is take this guy, I'm going to break off a piece, and I'm going to show you how to plant him amongst that. Now, why would I go ahead and plant him amongst my greens? Well, that's the interesting thing. I'll tell you that in here in just a minute. Now, the interesting thing about garlic is that it also has other properties besides keeping us safe. It also can discourage certain bugs and things like that. So it's not a bad idea to kind of plant these garlics amongst other your plants. Now, this time of year, it's November. I'm in a t-shirt. It's still pretty warm here for the fall. Typically, it's a little bit cooler, but nonetheless, we've already gotten rid of most of our bugs here. Texas is famous for bugs, by the way. But the garlic will grow up and grow through most of the spring, through the early spring, and bugs will start coming out. Beautiful thing about garlic is that it does tend to chase away many of the bugs that are going to bother your garden. And so I'm going to go plant that amongst the different greens that I have here currently in my garden, and leave them there. When the greens are gone, I'll let them continue to mature as I have in my other vegetables. I'll go into the garden here later in the spring. Okay, so I'll show you what we're going to do next. Okay, guys, so the great thing about garlic, it's so easy to grow. As I mentioned before, the only thing you really need to do is go to a grocery store and buy one of these guys. This is a bulb of garlic. It cost me about 69 cents today. And next is you then peel off one of the cloves that are within the garlic, and then you plant this in the dirt. It's literally that simple. Now, there's a couple extra tips we could talk about here to make this better. So one of the things is, you see the point up here? That needs to be facing up. The spot, the little flat spot here that was touching into the bulb, put that down the bottom. The reason for that is where you're going to grow. Your roots are going to come out of that, and your point is where the leaves are going to come out, and that's what you need to help this guy out also. Secondly, don't put it very deep. You don't need to put it any deeper than about an inch into the soil. So take your finger, you see that first digit right there? So that first digit right here, push it about that far deep. That's about as far as you need to do. Other things you can do to make it better for you is make sure your dirt is loose, what they call loamy, if you will. So if you have a heavy clay soil, it'll still grow. You just won't get the very large bulbs. If you think about, or if you've ever been to Gilroy, California, they have this beautiful, loose, loamy dirt, and that's why they have these massive garlic bulbs that come out of there, and Gilroy's known for their garlic. They do a fantastic job there. So my suggestion is take your piece of land and keep it loose. The other thing, as I mentioned, is this time of year is the best time to grow these sort of plants in Texas because it stays warm. If you're facing a situation right now where you're like, well, it's too cold here, we get snow, the ground freezes, it gets below 10 degrees. You can always put these in a pot. They grow really easy. And the great thing about growing one of these in a pot is, one, all you need is just that one clove, and you're going to get a bulb out of it. Secondly, is you can keep the potting soil very loose, and the looser the soil like that, as long as it's got a good material, organic material in it, it'll hold the water too. You don't want to overly saturate it, don't get me wrong, but you want it to stay relatively wet. If you do that, it will cause the bulb to get bigger. Thus you'll get more garlic out of it too. Other things, water it regularly. Don't let it sit in water because that'll rot the bulb. That's pretty common with anything. If you've ever grown any sort of bulb, vegetable, or flower, you realize you don't want your bulb to get too wet. And other than that, it's pretty simple. So literally, watch what I'm going to do now. Oh my goodness gracious. Here we go. I'm going to put it right next to, right between these plants right here. Bulb, finger, make a little hole. Literally that simple. Put it in, push it down a little bit, cover it up. Goodness gracious. I don't think I could have made that any easier. I'm going to go ahead and put some water on here after a little while, and then we'll do great, and we'll have it ready. Guys, I hope you enjoyed this video. I hope you enjoyed what we're doing here. So this is great stuff for your health, good stuff for the table, and enjoyable all the way around. You take care. I'd love to hear from you guys here soon. Tell us what you're thinking, and if you're enjoying these videos and what we're talking about here with garlic. To your health, to your table, take care. See you guys soon. Bye now.